Boyfriends of Reddit. What happened to the guy she told you not to worry about? Story 1. It was her coworker. We'd been dating for 8 years and married for 2 at that point. Met senior year in high school for context. Anyways, she called this dude her guru. He was cool until he wasn't. Throughout the years, she started turning her spirituality and esoteric hobbies into her whole persona. And this guy just fed into it. I was always supportive of whatever she wanted to do, but when it came to affirmations and tarot readings being real, I kind of drew the line. She started making TikToks on affirmations, dressing differently, and taking numerology/tarot classes online. At one point, she wanted to get certified in Reiki. I felt something was off. So, I started digging and realized this sacred geometry freak had been brainwashing her for years. We had an open phone policy, and I finally decided to look at old messages. I confronted her about it, and she denied anything was going on between them. Eventually, I read her diary. Not my proudest moment, but I didn't have a choice. It did confirm she was having feelings for him and was very confused about what to do. When I confronted her, she cried, said she still wanted to be with me, and then continued to lie. It's a strange feeling when your best friend is slowly slipping away from you. I keep reading the diary, finding out each week how much closer they were getting until she finally read. They had kissed in the walk-in. Then I told her to move out. Crazy how your whole world can get flipped upside down in a single month. Honestly, in hindsight, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I would have kept fighting forever. It's just how I was. She forced me to leave her, and in the end, I'm better off for it. I don't hold any grudge. She was confused, scared, and stupid. People change. That's just the way it is. It sucks having my 20s taken from me, but I don't dwell on it. The cherry on top is that they broke up less than 6 months later. She eventually apologized and gave me all the validation a man could ever need that I didn't do anything wrong. To this day, we are still friends, and the guy she's with now I sort of set up. They seem happy, so I'm happy. Before we continue, do us a quick favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to support our channel. Story 2. This was back in the early 2000s, and I was in my early 20s. I moved into a second-floor apartment just north of Boston. I was in and out of jobs, mainly doing temp jobs in order to pay bills, and I was always broke. My girlfriend at the time came over often, and we would all hang out, smoke Zaza, and throw parties. It was a good time for about 3 months. My roommate was starting to get overly flirty with my girlfriend, and I brought it up to her, and her comeback was, "Him? No way. Baby. He's ugly." She and I, a few weeks later, broke up over something unrelated. And a week after that, she was in my house in a relationship with my roommate. Needless to say, I took it in the worst possible way. I argued, yelled, called her a curse word, and I even threatened to hurt myself. I could hear them banging, and it drove me mad with rage. I wanted to end both of them. I walked straight up to my roommate one day and said, "Hey man, I thought we were friends." And his response was, "We aren't friends, we are just roommates." That comment was life-altering, as I grew up in a family where honor and your word meant something. And you certainly didn't bang over your friends so blatantly. It was really my first experience with someone so deceptive and self-serving. Granted, I wasn't a beacon of honorability, but I certainly have never dated a woman that broke up with my friend. And certainly not one I lived with. I had zero money, but a credit card with a $5,000 limit. I booked a week-long trip to Tokyo, put it all on the card, and left for a week. I came back with a completely changed perspective, and while it still bothered me, just less so, I wasn't going to let them see it. My roommate got a new job as a bouncer for one of those exotic dancer parties at home companies, and within a month, he was cheating on my ex with one of the girls at work. My ex then decided it was a good idea to get chummy with me again and try to get back together. But the thought of it disgusted me. I thought about banging her one last time just so I could be loud as freak and have my roommate hear it, but I thought that was too low. And I think the revulsion would be enough to make it so I couldn't perform. The ex proceeded to talk crap about my roommate, saying he had a small joystick and was bad in bed, and the typical stuff young 20-something girls say after a breakup. I just told her that I wasn't interested in dating again, and that was the last time I saw her. She got married and has 1 kid and is living in her parents' home that was left to her, last I heard. About a month later, my roommate's girlfriend from work breaks up with him, and I hear him quietly on the phone talking about why she is mad. From the context clues about the conversation, apparently, he has a micro joystick, and I had a hard time not bursting out laughing after hearing it. Story 3. She used to spend hours after work, closing shift, so we're talking 1 a.m.ish, sitting in her coworker's car hanging out. When I told her how this made me feel, she brushed it off, saying I was just being jealous and that there was nothing to worry about. Fast forward 3 months, and she calls me saying he forced himself on her, that she didn't want it, and that she loved me and only wanted me. I was furious and out for blood, but she managed to convince me not to do anything. I found out a week before her birthday, when she invited him along to the celebration, that it was actually consensual, and she had lied to me. She didn't quite understand why that upset me so much. The worst part is I didn't even leave her right then and there. I hung around for another couple of weeks before she dumped me. Story 4. I had something similar. She hung out with him a lot and told me I don't have to worry about him. Then she called me his name on the phone and said, "LOL, I call him your name all the time." I was pretty sure she was cheating on me, but didn't want the responsibility of breaking up with me, so I broke up with her. She was pretty upset, which was horrible, but it was the right thing to do. Within a couple of weeks, he was her new boyfriend. They've been together ever since, got married, and had kids, so good for them, TBH. I was a real mess at the time and wasn't right for her, so I don't blame her for not wanting me anymore. That was the worst part in a way. I couldn't blame her. Still hurt so much at the time, though. Story 5. Sophomore year of college, and we had been dating since mid-freshman year. Met a guy in a class she had, and they became friends. My friends, and even some of her friends were like, "This guy clearly is into you." She claimed it was nothing, and they were just friends. She broke up with me toward the end of sophomore year because I feel like I haven't really gotten to experience young adulthood as a single person, which honestly, I can understand. You don't need a reason to end a relationship outside of, "I don't want to be in this relationship." The issue was that they started dating a few weeks later over summer break, which contradicted the whole experience as a single-person noise. Basically, she found someone new and needed to break up with me to give them a shot. Clearly hurt, but you can't force a person to be with you, so I just had to deal. We remained cool-ish, and later found out he cheated on her. Probably not a unique story, just sucked in the moment getting dumped and seemingly replaced with the person that was very clearly trying to replace me. It was like watching a car accident that you cannot avoid and see coming and just have to brace for. Story 6. I have no idea, but if she did, I didn't care. She was very much a problem in my life. She just didn't seem to actually get that this man had been into her since they were kids. She had a crush on him then. She just never said anything and was oblivious to how a teenage boy showed interest. I mean, he literally ran away from his house and slept on her bedroom floor for months. They lost contact when he moved with his dad, but regained it when I told her I was comfortable with her looking for him on Facebook. I'm not the insecure type. We met up, hung out, but I could see it in his eyes. His crush was very much still strong, and if he could get rid of me, she was his. He was a dance instructor, and he was good at what he did with his hips. If she found that out for herself, I'll never know. Came home to him, hanging out playing video games a couple of times. He took her out for her birthday 1 year. He helped us move our stuff once, too. I guess it was that 4th year when he was moving our stuff that he realized it wasn't going to happen, because he blocked her and moved to Europe. She was the worst person I've ever dated, and maybe he found that out firsthand by sleeping with her. I dunno. All I know is she is not my problem anymore. Story 7. 7 years with a girl, which honestly was 3 to 4 years too long. I took care of all the bills, did most of the chores. I was a sucker. There wasn't a guy I was worried about per se, but in year 6 I couldn't help but feel like something was off. Eventually decided to snoop on her text messages and found everything I needed. I confronted her, and she lied to my face as I held the pictures I took from her phone. I ended the relationship, but kept her around for about a year and demanded she pay her half of the bills. That was 5.5 years ago now. Guys, if you feel like something is off, it's probably off. Trust your gut and just be observant and mindful. It was months before I checked her phone, and at that point I was getting a lot of pressure to get engaged. After about 9 months of being roommates, she moved back in with her parents, and 2 months later, I moved back home 4 hours south. The worst part about all of it was we had 2 dogs together, and I had to say goodbye to one of them. We kept in touch about the dogs. March 2023 mine passed, and a few months ago hers passed, so that last connection is broken, and this 13-year part of my life is at the epilogue. We're meeting up one more time to exchange clay paw prints, and then that's that. She still lives with her parents. I know she has a boyfriend. As for me, I found someone new 2 months after moving, and we got married last year. Story 8. I was dating this girl that I was madly in love with. The sun rose and set with her. If she wanted the moon, I would find a way to get it for her. We were together for 2 years. Then one day she started acting weird. Wouldn't want to talk, one-word answers, you know. Then one Saturday night we attended her best friend's birthday party. I met her there. The moment I walked in the door, she was doing her best not to be by me. If I tried to talk to her, she would end the conversation as soon as possible. I finally got fed up and asked what was going on. She took me away from the crowd and told me she was uncomfortable with me being there. Needless to say, I was shocked. When I inquired as to why she would be uncomfortable with me, her boyfriend, being at a party with her, she pointed out a certain fellow and explained that he was interested in her, and my being there made the situation uncomfortable. Not going to lie, folks, that statement cut me to the bone. But I maintained, looked her in the eyes, and said, "Okay, well, let me save you from your discomfort," and I left. I cried in the car on the way home. About 3 months later, when I started coming out of my funk, she called and wanted to know how I was doing. I lied and told her I was doing great and asked how I could be of assistance. That's when she told me she missed me. I asked why. She said she missed the way I treated her, how attentive I was, and how I was always considerate of her feelings and her well-being. I asked what happened with her new boy. Folks, it was a story as old as time. He had a girlfriend and just wanted to get with her. She said when she found out, she was mad. She asked him why he didn't let her know he had a girlfriend. His answer was, "You didn't ask." She then told him, "I broke up with my boyfriend for you." He replied, "I didn't ask you to do that. You did that on your own." Now she was seeking forgiveness and wanting to give it another try. I was tempted because I was still madly in love with her. But she showed her true colors, and I just couldn't take the chance on her leaving when the next new shiny thing came up. I told her no, because now I couldn't trust her, and a relationship without trust is no relationship at all. Story 9. I've had a few relationships where my girlfriend would tell me this, and it had different outcomes every time. One said he's like a brother. Then one day I got arrested for an outstanding traffic ticket I never paid, and in the 8 hours I was locked up waiting for morning for a judge so I could bail out. She spent the night and slept with him because she was so emotional and needed someone, because she didn't know what to do. Another one was a girl who basically forced her parents to adopt, and she would torture that kid and vice versa, and it was a completely platonic relationship. The one that stuck with me the most was my high school sweetheart. Best friends from freshman to senior year. Graduation night we realized life was about to take us both separate ways and started dating that night. We're together for about 5 years, and then kind of just grew apart. So, we split for about 2 years and did our own things and kept in touch. We ended up getting back together afterwards, and she had this guy she was like best friends with who was gay. I thought it was a bluff, honestly. She was comfortable enough around him that she got changed in front of him, showered with him in the bathroom, slept in the same bed after the bar some nights, etc. Never once did I see this kid with a guy, though, and I was convinced he was bluffing. Until one night we go out to the bar, have a good time, and end up crashing his house. We all end up sleeping in his bed because he has a huge king bed, and in the middle of the night this guy was spooned up against me, hard as a rock, feeling me up. That one never really sat right with me. He wasn't bluffing, though. Story 10. This was back in high school and became a self-fulfilling prophecy. I saw the signs but was indecisive instead of dumping her and could have avoided all of the social repercussions. He was my friend, and she gaslit me to make it seem like it was all my fault. People who I thought were my friends kicked me when I was down with this situation, whether it was trying to talk about them purposely when I was in earshot or finding graffiti written about it around the school. It mentally destroyed me. Fast forward a few years later, and she did similar to him. I went through some counseling, and I ended up burying the hatchet with both of them over the years. I got the satisfaction that he treated her like crap, and she admitted it was one of the worst decisions of her life. He and I also patched things up a different time. As far as I know to this day, they still don't speak to each other after breaking up, although she is married now and he is in a long-term relationship. I'm in my 30s now, and while I am still a bit gun-shy with relationships, I do pretty okay. I know now if something is off, or I get a gut feeling to not bury my head in the sand. To this day it is still what comes to my mind, If I could go back in time and prevent one thing, it would be this, between the aftermath, bullying, and trauma it gave me. Story 11. He was a longtime friend. Always was interested and had a couple of times propositioned they get back together. When nothing was ever established to begin with, by putting her in misleading and awkward situations in order to guilt trip her. Examples include invitations to public dance classes that turned out to be private tango lessons, a simple bite out to eat that was actually reservations for a high-end restaurant, and threats of throwing away expensive jewelry that he offered her if she didn't accept them. When she and I got together initially, the first thing he did was break off his own engagement, thinking there was a chance for us to break up. She and I dated for a few years, and they stayed friends. I finally popped the question, and he ran to her parents crying about it. He eventually found another woman and married her. We even got invited to the wedding, and has since dropped all contact. Story 12. It was a year ago. I and my girlfriend used to have bonding together. We were like that for 5 years, or almost. We have a healthy relationship built in together. Our relationship is not toxic, and there are not many problems between us. One day I noticed her always being away from me and always telling me, "Sorry, I am with my friend." And it has been weeks since she has always been with her boy best friend, and there is not much time we are having together. So I decided to interrogate my girlfriend if she would not mind introducing her guy friend to me. She said, "Sure, no problem." My girlfriend always tells me, "Don't worry, he is such a good friend." Her guy best friend and I have a good deal with each other. We became friends for a short time. One day my girlfriend is missing. I got news from her other friend that she is at the bar with that guy. 20 minutes later I went into the bar, they're telling me, but she is not in the bar. I keep searching for her, and I saw a hotel building with a lot of police cars, and ambulances outside. Turns out her guy friend took her to a hotel and pushed her there from inside at 250 feet high. Story 13. She started playing video games with her coworker. The same video games that she would play with me. She even bought the game that we were supposed to buy after we initially finished beating the first one. She didn't even tell me about it. After I broke up with her and we were still living together, guess who she started seeing? Supposedly, she said that he told her that he had feelings for her days after we broke up, which is a red flag. Later found out that everyone knew that he had feelings for her and she didn't know. I don't buy this at all because there were instances where women flirted with me in front of her. I was oblivious as heck, until she would bring it up because I'm an idiot and didn't notice. Thanks to her communicating with me about it and teaching me what to look out for, I learned how to deflect situations like this out of respect for our relationship. So, I refuse to believe that this woman who taught me how to know if someone is flirting with me didn't know that her coworker was flirting with her for 2 years and her friends knew? Yeah, okay. After our breakup, she kissed him 4 days later. He would pick her up at our place, and I think they're still together. It's kind of sad because I really wished she would take her time to work on herself, but instead she stayed with her rebound. I noticed that there was a pattern where after she gets out of a relationship, she immediately goes into another one, to which she carries on her problems into her new relationship. She did it to her previous boyfriend, and then to me. Regardless of everything that's happened, I hope she's doing better. Story 14. I don't know. My SO straight up came out to me as asexual and doesn't like affection. Well, she is my ex now, but I'm pretty sure she has hard feelings for her best friend, who is a woman. I always felt like a third wheel in my own relationship. It was solidified when she and her friend had a disagreement, and the friend came over unannounced to talk to her because she didn't want to end the day mad at my ex or some crap. I'm thinking the whole time, are these two banging or something? I know some women have close relationships with their girlfriends, but I swear my ex loved her friend more than just friend level. They are really, really close, and they take multiple vacations a year together. Like it's July, and they have already been on like 3 vacations this year. Story 15. I had this happen to me, but it was my ex's friend. I met both of them before I started dating my ex, but I always liked my ex. I never once had eyes for his friend. We hung out together as a group all the time, and any time he was weird with me, I would shut it down. Instead of my ex getting mad at his friend, he would become furious with me. We fought about him the majority of our relationship, but he kept hanging out with him or bringing him around me. What caused our first long-term breakup was when my ex swore he overheard me confessing to getting with his friend. The conversation he overheard was me telling a mutual friend's girlfriend that I was tired of being accused of sleeping/being interested in his friend. I thought his friend was ugly, and it was offensive I was being accused of getting with him. I got angry and texted my ex's friend that he needed to tell his friend we never got together, that he was weird and I would never like him. I admit that text was mean, but after 2 years of accusations and arguments, I was done. The friend was very angry I sent that, but he said my ex never brought those accusations up to him, so he had no idea what I was talking about. To make a long story short about us breaking up and getting back together 1,000 times, my ex had all the smoke for me about his insecurities and never once addressed his friend. When we broke up, the friend tried to ask me out, so I told him to F off and blocked him. So, my ex was right about the guy having feelings for me, but took it out on me instead of ever speaking with his friend about it. They are even still friends to this day. Story 16. She called me one night to tell me something about the guy she had asked me not to worry about. About the guy she had been fangirling with for the last few months. So that night, I couldn't speak. I wanted to scream, but words stuck inside my throat. Then, she called me more and said that she still loves me and wants to stay together with me. Said I shouldn't worry about the guy, although they were casually sleeping. Now when I left my city to go and stay with her, I saw that she had already started living in that rented place with that guy I wasn't to worry about. Although I was staying at home and working, he seemed to spend more time with her. One day I just woke up with a start and found her banging him. Literally. Still, if I said anything then, I was cussed about, and I was gaslighted into my narrow mentality about her only friend, who was also a colleague. The guy who I wasn't to worry about would not give us a moment of alone time. He would be there 24/7. I stayed and guarded the house while they went to the theater. They went to a fest, and if she were sick or anything, he would take her to the doctor. Strangely, I was paying for all these. But yeah, I wasn't too worried about that guy. My t-shirts and stuff that she wore, I saw on that guy's body. She told me to stop wearing such baggy things and wear tighter stuff so that they fit him better. I couldn't anymore. I left. Or maybe I was made to leave. That very day I found the guy who I wasn't to worry about giving a low-angle DP, with a septum that I had purchased for her a few months back. He wasn't wearing anything, it was obvious, and I recognized the room. Next month, it was my birthday. That guy called me at night. He came to my city and asked me to meet him. I did. She was there with him. They made me drink and stay the night with them. It was nearly 1, and she started getting frisky. I remembered her urge for a 3-score earlier in our relationship, and I couldn't even bear the idea of sharing her. Although I wasn't supposed to worry about the guy. I left them. That's it. She blocked me from everywhere, and the guy did too. I feel better though. Story 17. It was her cousin in one city she was talking to. Then she couldn't keep a straight story, and it was another city. I figured she was lying, but eventually I caught her talking to someone on the phone in the restroom saying, "I miss you too. I walk like an assassin normally," and she was taking way longer than usual in the restroom lately. We always had open access to each other's phones, and she started getting really protective of her phone. The math was mathy. She finally left her phone unattended. I waited months for this moment, and I looked through it. She was talking to her ex the whole time we were together. I confronted her. She still lied and lied. I pretended to believe her. I waited until the next time she would leave to go to her parents to visit. They normally came and picked her up. About 30 minutes before they arrived, I broke up with her. It was a tough conversation, and she flipped out, still lying. I packed her stuff with her screaming and yelling and throwing stuff around and sent her on her way. I think her family knew she messed up in some way. I never divulged why we broke up, but I sure didn't see any posts about her and the guy she was cheating with. Her parents probably made her stay at the house for a bit. But she sure did get a different guy in a few months. He would send me antagonistic texts if only he knew. Story 18. One of my roommates in college would hang out with my girlfriend one-on-one when we first started dating. We were all friends before, so not an issue at all, because they did that before we started dating. The thing that was weird was he would intentionally not say that she was with him. Multiple times I would later talk to my girlfriend, and she would very casually mention something like, "Oh, I went to the library with him." After a couple of instances of this happening, it weirded out my girlfriend, because why was he not telling me? So, she decided to tell me before she went to go get coffee with him one afternoon, and wanted me to ask some probing questions of him afterward to see if he ever mentioned she was there. He did not. We determined that he liked her too, and was trying to undermine us, but it just didn't work because we actually talked to each other and didn't hide things. After that incident, she decided to stop hanging out with him alone. To her, they were just hanging out casually. To him, they were sneaking around behind my back, and it just kind of bothered her. It also bothered me, but it only made me upset with him, not her. Both of our friendships with him became strained and have never really recovered, even now years later. Not quite the don't worry about him scenario, but it's the closest I have and so unlike anything I have ever experienced. Story 19. I was actually the guy not to worry about. Became super good friends with a girl. She had been with a guy for over a year. I had a super hard crush on her, and something definitely could have happened under different circumstances. He was a prick. Openly threatened taking his own life in dramatic fashion if they were arguing. If she took too long in a public bathroom, he would kick the door in and shout for her, and I even suspect he may have beaten her a time or two. I was just kind of waiting for it to implode, to be honest. She had asked me straight up if I liked her, and I said yes, and she said the same to me. But she wasn't the type to cheat, and I would have hated for anything to happen on bad grounds. Time kind of kept going on. I met someone else who I'm now married to and have a beautiful son with. She actually passed away from cancer a few years back, and she was with someone else at the time who she seemed super happy with. So, at the very least, she got away from that a-hole. Story 20. My wife met a new friend at church who we'll call Charles. They started spending time together at church, and then started meeting outside of church. I raised my concerns and was told that I have nothing to worry about. She told me jealousy isn't attractive. She had an affair with Charles. This was while I was working nights and going to school during the day. I found out, and she was extremely apologetic and said she made a mistake. I was torn on whether to stay with her or not because we have kids. I ultimately decided to stay and try to work things out. Charles was married also, and he and his wife decided to work things out as well. This was 18 years ago, and my wife and I are still married. I'd even say happily married. I still think about it from time to time, even though I decided to forgive her. I guess forgiving and forgetting are different things. Charles died of brain cancer around 8 or 9 years ago. Story 21. She told me he's just a friend, nothing major, it's fine. They would spend a lot of time together as a group, which is fine, then one-on-one. I told her my boundaries on the issue and that it wasn't okay. A lot of mutual friends thought that guy was gay. I felt the same, TBH. She broke up with me out of the blue, told me she felt it wasn't going to work anymore, and told him to fuck off. A couple of weeks later, we talked, and she told me she developed feelings for him. I confronted the guy eventually, and he admitted to me that no, I didn't have any intent with her while you guys were together, but now that you guys are broken up, I am interested. They ended up spending much more time together, her going to his place all the time, and they got together who knows when but pretty soon after. Two crappy people who really do deserve one another. She doesn't exist to me anymore, and it's really sad to view someone you really deeply cared about in that way. But she has a lot of not-so-easy issues. She was diagnosed with a very difficult mental disorder that I think about sometimes. If things were in a different universe, in a different space, I truly could have seen myself being with that person for a very long time. But as they stand, I took the time to heal. I did CBT therapy for a bit, and dated. Thankfully, the support of friends was awesome. And I've been happy. I'm in no rush to. Story 22. This was a two-way street. It was a guy I told her to worry about that she told me not to worry about. About 8 months after she broke up with me to follow her career, she called me in tears. She and this dude had reconnected since they had been school friends for years and in and out of each other's lives, but never in a romantic way. She considered him just a friend, and so never saw him in that light. They'd gone out to dinner once when we were fairly new at dating, so I was aware of their relationship. Anyway, fast forward, and she regales me with a story about how she and he had reconnected for a summer along with one of his best friends to spend some time that summer together doing camping or whatever. In the process, she hooks up with his best friend, and it all comes out. Dude had always loved her and wanted her to be with him, and always didn't find the right opportunity to ask and all that. She said she never knew any of it. So, one of her oldest friendships blew up because it wasn't an honest friendship, and she felt the need to call me for some reason to help process it. It took a lot to avoid giving an I told you so speech, but ultimately that was the last time I spoke to him. Story 23. We'd been dating for over a year in HS. She forced us into a double date for prom kind of last minute. Soon after, but before prom, she missed a date with me because, We were watching Forrest Gump and lost track of time. She spent most of prom night watching his every move like some weird puppy dog. Dumped me 3 days after prom. I asked her why she didn't just tell me that she wanted to go to prom with him instead, so I could have been there with someone that wanted to be there with me. Played dumb about it. They totally weren't dating. After that, even though a lot of our friends were telling me they were seeing them out everywhere. Honestly, I didn't care at that point, and I took the opportunity to ask out her best friend, who eagerly replied yes, like she had been just waiting for me to ask. Then she had the nerve to accuse me of being vengeful, even though she's the one that dumped me for my own buddy. Ironically enough, he and I are on good terms these days, but for some reason he thought I was mad at him for a few years in the middle there, where I clearly was not rude or spiteful towards him. When he finally brought it up, I laughed about it and said, "You've been thinking about that for a while, haven't you?" "Don't worry, I haven't been." Story 24. I dated a coworker who moved to the city from the middle of nowhere to be somewhere she could go to raves at, a scene I've disliked from experience, but I was coming off of finding my grandma dead in her room and felt alone, so I ignored that and many other red flags. 3 months of a honeymoon period, and I started to realize I wasn't really attracted to anything about her. I just wanted a warm body. She meets someone at one of the shows, and for 5 months I bring up once a month how he's probably a better fit, and is she sure there's nothing developing there? She tells me no, not her type. She tells me she's going to marry me until the day she breaks up with me, the morning after her birthday, when the day before she and he were talking about her breaking up with me, and still let me come to meet them, shake his hand, and thank him for watching out for her. I was extremely stagnant those last 5 months, and doing absolutely nothing to move myself forward. And the past month, I've been doing things nonstop to get my life on track. It shouldn't hurt this much, but I guess the shock of putting my worries to rest just gets obliterated in the morning and stings a lot. She quit, thankfully, so I don't have to see her, but man, that sucked. Story 25. I said I was concerned about how he clearly felt about her. She said I never needed to worry. They had a 6-month relationship behind my back that my entire friend group apparently knew about. But it gets better. She goes off to university abroad, leaving him here, NA, while still talking with him like they're in a relationship, despite her also being open about seeing other guys while abroad. Their relationship fizzles out as he realizes things are not going his way. She finds herself pregnant around this time, and now our entire friend group from before has stopped talking to her. He goes to Central America to work with a family member for a while before returning home. The first time our group gets together, he quietly finds me as I'm heading out and says how sorry he is and that he hopes he hasn't ruined our friendship. I tell him that it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, and we've grown past it. I still see him now and then when he's in town, and I wish him well. Story 26. She never told me not to worry about him, but all her talk about him was negative. He was her ex-boyfriend, very recent breakup, but we were friends before then. I never met the guy, but I learned he was borderline abusive before. I noticed lots of little things about her during our time together that were very clear indications of someone that had been put in a controlling situation like that. Well, it didn't matter that I didn't do those things because, as she put it, he only did those things because of the situation. It was my fault as much as his, and she went back to him about a day after breaking up with me. They broke up 3 months later, but it was very hard seeing the person I knew take back their independence, become a better person, only to throw it all away and become someone who looked like they had no life in their eyes the few times we ran into each other. A year later from our breakup, I still flash between being mad at her for what she did to me while feeling guilty for being so mad at someone who had all these terrible things shape their actions. I've expressed forgiveness, and she's expressed remorse, but told our mutuals that anything related to me is just too uncomfortable. I guess it's healthier to try to move on than to hope her lingering affection outweighs her guilt. Story 27. This is from the perspective of the guy he shouldn't worry about. We'd been friends for a few months when she met her boyfriend. She was a really good friend, but before they dated, she got me super drunk, and we had night out. We remained friends after. He moved away and became long distance. They stayed together, but we would still hang out alone. She threw herself at me a number of times, but I would never be complicit in cheating. Sometimes I wish I could have been, but I'm not built like that. I really wasn't the one he needed to worry about. It was her other friends that he did, and she cheated a number of times that I know of. She knew I didn't and wouldn't approve and decided to stop being my friend after a few years, which sucked because we were close, and I lost a whole friend group. I don't know if he ever found out or what happened with her. It's a part of my life I use weed to forget. Story 28. She pounded him in the back of one of the zoo transport vans with the shared work toy, which I guess, given in the industry we all worked in, was the most appropriate of toys. Eventually, I found out she immediately dumped me. She told him they were now exclusive, and he immediately dumped her, as he had no interest in a relationship and just enjoyed the thrill of pounding someone else's girlfriend. He went back to his homeland and continued in the industry. She sent messages asking for us to meet and talk, which I ignored. She fell into a huge depression and attempted to end her life. Oh dear, how sad. Story 29. This is from almost 20 years ago, and I'll make a long story short. 17 years old, and I had nothing to worry about. And I'm sure my jealousy probably pushed them even closer together, but they ended up together immediately after we broke up, so I was actually right there, right? They ended up married. He went to the army, went overseas, they had 3 kids, he cheated on her, and the 2 couples involved in the affair essentially wife-swapped. Karma is satisfying, but I don't wish a broken home on 6 small kids between the 2 families. Story 30. He wouldn't stop trying to be with her. She eventually gave in because of my paranoia about him. They dated and moved in together. He physically hurt her in many ways, and she tried to get back together with me a year later. She has trauma, therapy, and is on medication and court dates with this guy in one. I get to have the validation of my suspicions of the guy being correct, but I wish my friend never experienced that, even if she betrayed me. I'm doing all right though. I found someone New Year's later, and we're expecting our first. Story 31. I shouldn't have worried about him. My ex had this guy friend from work I was always a bit suspicious of because of how much she talked about him and gave me the old, you'd love him thing all the time. Well, finally schedules aligned, and I met the guy, and it was immediately obvious that they were very close, but neither of them had any interest in each other whatsoever. Their relationship seemed very much sibling-like, and my ex also proceeds to explain the entire lore of how she's on a mission to set this guy up with another one of their coworkers that he likes. We broke up a month later for unrelated reasons that do not involve cheating or anything like that, but I would like to think I would have been friends with the guy had I been able to spend more time with him. Story 32. My ex-girlfriend said she was just trying to expand her friend circle and didn't listen to me feeling insecure about her new interest. I pushed the feelings aside, and I became good friends with him through going out mud running in our trucks. A few weeks later, she said I had a hall pass to any girl I wanted at an upcoming bush party. I didn't agree to this hall pass, gross, and I found them making out in the back of my pickup bed. Story 33. HS sweethearts that turned LDR for uni, her new friend, in our hometown's friend circle was a dude I used to hang out with for 3 years, solid acquaintance. Until he started giving me the ick, and I asked her to limit hanging out with him, or at least not alone. Come to find out she was cheating on me. I told her she can't have her cake and eat it too, and to block him on everything. Another month, and I snooped on her laptop only to find out not only did she not block him, but the entire semester he had been skipping his classes and making the drive to stay at her dorm during the week, leaving first thing Friday morning before I got there to bring her home for the weekend. Then they would also hang out at his parents' second house whenever I had to work on said weekends. On the bright side, not only is he still short, fat, and ugly, but he is still stuck with my ex, who is just as much of a cheating POS as her mother is, and living off his parents' dime and mowing lawns for a career, mind you not at an actual landscaping company. Story 34. They hooked up within a few weeks of us breaking up. It was one of my best friends from high school. I taught him everything he knew about getting girls, so I knew what was happening when she started snapping him daily. To be fair to him, we had hooked up with the same girls before, so I'm still cool with him today. The girl was fine as freak. I can't blame him. I decided to bang her best friend from childhood in retaliation. Then I banged her mom's best friend too, who was 20+ years older than me. My ex drove to my house in the middle of the night when she found out we'd been broken up for months, just to tell me what a POS I was. I then told her I knew about what she did with my buddy, and that she couldn't be mad about anything. Then we banged a last time, and I haven't seen her in like 6 years. Story 35. Not with me, but with my younger brother. When my brother met her, she was already best friends with the guy. He was friend-zoned before my brother met her, and throughout the relationship. She was annoying, kind of immature and selfish, but a cool girl otherwise. They dated for 2 years. In less than 6 months after the relationship ended, the girl and her best friend were engaged. I'm not sure, but I think they're married by now. I myself am very happy for my brother because I'd never marry a woman like her. Friends or something, sure, but marriage? No way. To this day, he refuses to talk about it with anyone. Story 36. She said he was just a friend and that they would hang out sometimes when she went home to see her grandmother. Came back from one of those trips and left me to be with him, then cheated on him with me. That led into a whole other set of issues she brought on herself, including him doing to her what she claimed I did. All because I hadn't told her that I loved her after we had been together for 6 months. Story 37. That I was being paranoid and sounding like her ex. She got instantly defensive about it when we usually talk things through and how she couldn't trust me. I went to my backshift job, and when I came back, there was no sign of her coming home. She disappeared that week for 3 days on a coke and alcohol-filled binge with the same guy. Completely left in the dark for 3 days only to come back when she thought I was at work, which I wasn't. I want to apologize to you since I should have realized sooner, but I don't need to apologize for what I did since I regret nothing. Not going to lie, it freaked me up for the rest of the year until I met my roommates at the time, who genuinely cared about other people's well-being. Story 38. What always happens? She was banging him on the side. Women be shady as a freak. Oh, he's just a friend. Oh, he's just a cousin. Oh, he's gay, nothing to worry about. And then, of course, she marries her gay cousin. When a girl tells you not to worry about the guy, she's hanging all over. That means you're the ATM machine until she bags him. Story 39. He ran a train on her while she was home alone, because she didn't want me to come over if I was in a bad mood that night. My grandma died, and I had to see my abusive father as a person who just lost his mom for a few hours. She didn't want to be around me, so I went and drunk with my friends in town, got in a couple fights, typical dumb young crap. 2 of my friends, who just happened to be women, had nowhere to go, so I took them to mine and made them food, then tried to sleep on the floor. While they took my bed, it was then I heard how bad my ex was because they were talking BS about her. I cracked a joke and went to sleep. Turns out while that was happening, my ex had the guy I shouldn't worry about, and 3 other dudes, and they all had turns. I've always been a violent person, but I've never directed violence or anger towards any women, but damn when I found I briefly considered it before telling her I want my leather jacket back. Never contact me again, and that IMA tell all our friends what she did. Story 40. I had a girl, and we were happy for about 6 months. Then she got really attached to her phone and was always laughing and blushing. Every time I asked her about it, she said it was a family member. I thought it was pretty weird, so one day she went to my place, then she went to the bathroom, and I went through her phone. I was appalled when my contact's name was freaking Wallet. And then I saw the family member she was texting, and it was some black dude named Tyler or something. After she got out of the bathroom, she asked me if I snooped through her phone, and I said yes, and that if she wanted a bigger and better guy, then she could date Tyler. She was shocked, and she locked herself in the bedroom and cried for 2 hours. After that, she left, and I never heard of her again. Story 41. I kept worrying about him, and finally I made a grave mistake. She left her laptop open in front of me and went to the toilet. Then I was stupid enough to betray her trust and look at her messages with him. The stupid thing is I already knew they were texting like that. Then I was stupid enough to show the text to him, and he told her, "Yeah, I kinda messed myself up over there. The thing is, I still love her, and it hurts even more because the guy was my childhood friend from 3rd grade, who I invited to our friend group because he was too lonely. Now both of them are no contact with me. Every week feels like a month, and I can't stand it. I want to talk it out with both of them, but I can understand, and I try to respect why they want no contact too. But it just hurts so much." Story 42. So far, it's been fine once I had a talk with her about him. I get that she jokingly flirts with different members of her friend group. Most of her friends I really feel no jealousy because it's obvious joking, but his reciprocal jokes never felt the same. A lot more physical, a lot more sensual, trying to make her flustered and telling her to think of him when she's doing stuff. Caressing her. Now he's taken BTW, but he's in an open relationship, so he just openly flirts like that. I told her that I get how the friend dynamic worked when she was single, but he needs a serious tone down now that we're together. What really made her realize was me pointing out the things he does, and asking her how she'd feel if one of my female friends acted like that guy all over me. She said she'd rip their head off and make them feel like sand if they ever did that. I guess that kind of finally lit the light bulb of what I'd been putting up with. He's been more in line now. Story 43. We dated for 5+ years in total. She told me he's like an older brother to her, and I don't have to worry. He has no interest in me. 3 years in, she gave me her Discord account, and in there I found a ton of evidence of them meeting up and cheating. This is where I tried breaking it off, and she then started with harming herself threats and worse stuff. Eventually she told me she got rid of him. She didn't. For the last 2 years, she would tell me to off myself on a daily basis, and just treated me like human garbage. Then when I ended it, she was upset about how I ruined our future marriage. She also decided to stalk me 3 to 6 months after we broke up. Story 44. I was the guy she told her boyfriend to not worry about. I have self-respect, so I initiated blocking, and I broke off all contact and tried to move on from a person I knew for over 23 years. She still wants to be in touch, but I refuse any sort of contact over any medium, even if it's an emergency. No means no, she has others to take care of her. It did hurt in the beginning. She was a best friend, but it's getting better as time passes by, and now she's basically a stranger. I am proud of myself for having broken this chain, of a woman having a boyfriend and a best friend. There is no such thing as a BFF. Keep gas-lighting yourself, ladies. Story 45. Girlfriend cheated on me with him while I was training for a new job in a city that was 6 hours away. I didn't know until he called her, telling her to tell me or else he would. I broke up with her on the spot and kicked her out. They eventually ended up together, and I can't be 100% positive, but I believe she told her family I was a cheater and manipulator because that was often her strategy when we would argue. Story 46. I'm on good terms with the other guy now. Why? Well, she got proposed to by the other guy you weren't supposed to worry about. I found out a month prior about their relationship. He found out from her through text when she texted us that she got engaged visiting him and his family in Brazil. I basically had to explain everything to him because he was blindsided. I extremely disliked the dude, but watching his lip quiver when I told him the truth just made me realize we both were victims. He's been dating someone else for a while now. Story 47. It happened after I graduated high school and she was a senior. He told me not to worry about the guy, so I tried not to, but it was hard after being cheated on prior. All my friends still in high school knew the other guy was a douche and said I shouldn't worry. A few months later, on the day of my college orientation, she texted me to break up with me to go after him, and I decided not to go to college. Turns out, he was still a douche and physically hurt her, but she hasn't talked to me since. He works at the local Walmart, and I am unemployed. Turns out, both I and the guy lost. Story 48. My first girlfriend's ex-boyfriend stabbed me in the back with a Phillips head screwdriver. Then, she left me for a different guy she told me not to worry about because he made more money than I did. Because he was a massive drug dealer. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.